I don't know about you, but 2023 has been one of the most challenging years of my entire life, from just depression and anxiety. And on the creative side, just being so insecure about my work, overthinking everything, in a constant state of paralysis. Like, for the first time in maybe 6 years doing this full time, the thought of going back to a nine to five job, or a career has nothing to do with being creative, living paycheck to paycheck again, that actually crossed my mind this year, which is something that I told myself I would never do. Let me just start from the beginning and what kind of caused everything. Well, we don't got to get into the personal stuff, but what happens when, let's say, because I don't know about other YouTube creators, but when I feel these feelings of depression, people deal with that feeling differently. You know, some people, it can fuel them. Like now it fuels me. But earlier this year, it completely paralyzed me. I felt constant state of paralysis where I didn't even want to move my body, you know? And what that happened, well, as a YouTube creator, for example, this job, right, of talking on camera, for me, this is intimately tied to my emotions, right? I can't just get up every day and just film like every day. For me, it takes a lot of mental preparation. And I got to get my emotions, everything's got to be in tune, you know? Like, it's not like going to a regular job and just being on autopilot and just doing your job the way, you know, you would do it. This is a much more creative job. And I've been making videos for 8 years. To this day, the moment I press record, it's hard for me to get my words out. To this day, it's hard for me to talk on camera. And that's like that feeling now is just exaggerated now. It's much harder to talk on camera when you're not feeling good, which is why I really put my teleprompters to use this year. Also, in the past couple years, my channel has seen a pretty steep decline in terms of overall performance. You know, I rose up to, 600,000 subscribers pretty fast, and now it's going really slow. And one thing, a constant battle that I've always had is not letting the numbers kind of validate me. You know, I would use the numbers to kind of, okay, if I'm doing well, if I'm getting a lot of engagement, if I'm getting my views, that means I'm doing something right. That means I'm doing good at this. But because the numbers have declined, to be fair, they have declined for a lot of people in this industry. But for me personally, I wasn't used to it, and seeing those numbers decline, it just really affected me this year. And I started to use those numbers to validate, to be harder on myself. Like, I'm not doing something right. I suck, just all these negative feelings. So on the YouTube side, this is what really made it hard for me to get up every day, to push myself to make content, because I felt like no one cared and I wasn't good at it anymore. On the photography side of things, I think that my obsession with improvement, progress, with wanting to be the best at what I do, that backfired on me this year. Because I lost so much self-confidence in my abilities and in my work, I felt like I wasn't improving. This is why I wasn't posting on Instagram, like pretty much all year up until recently, because I felt like every post had to be better than the last. Every photo, it's like there's no room for like a mediocre like photo that, you didn't put a lot of effort into, you just want to share, but there's no room for that. And every post has to be better than the last one. And when you think about it, that's damn near impossible. Like, it cannot always be that way, right? Progression cannot always happen in a linear fashion where every single thing that you do, because practice makes perfect, right? The more you do it, the better you get. It doesn't work like that. There's ebbs and flows to it. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way, where at times you're going to feel stagnant. There are times where you're going to feel like you're regressing, like I felt, but ultimately you are getting better. There's other skills to be developed, and I was getting better. It's just that I wasn't putting all the effort that I could put into my work, which is why, I'm expecting to put in this amount of effort and then all of a sudden amazing work. No, it takes a lot more than just putting two lights together, putting a model there. No, it takes wardrobe, makeup, lighting, concept. The concept is, there's so much more that goes into it, but that's neither here or there. I lost so much of my confidence, which led me to be just very insecure about my work. Like doing YouTube for a long time, I feel like I developed pretty thick skin. This year, think about like Independence Day when the mothership, the alien ship, when they took down the force field and then it was able to sustain, they were able to actually attack it. That is what I felt like this year. I felt like my force field was down and I was susceptible to damage, which I haven't felt in a long time. And I was so insecure about posting something that I didn't feel was like, a banger photo, because I felt like it was a representation of just how I'm not improving and my work is just stale and staying the same or whatever. There was just so much pressure associated with posting on Instagram. It's actually crazy. The paralysis that I had when it came to sharing my work or doing anything creative, because I felt like it wasn't going to be good enough. And this was very much just a lot of self-sabotaging. I kind of analogy for it is like when you go to the gym and you're working out all the time, and this is back when I used to be a lot bigger, maybe like 10 years ago, you felt like your body plateaus at a certain point, right? Like after 3-4 years of natural bodybuilding, your body plateaus, and all you doing now, you feel like you're just sustaining those gains in the gym versus actually getting bigger. And that's where I felt like I was. I felt like I plateaued, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So all the personal feelings mixed with all of these feelings with my creative and photography work. I mean, I was just in the biggest rut that I've ever been in my entire life. I worked so hard to get where I'm at, and I pride myself in that because I feel like I'm built different than most people. And yeah, this year was a huge test. I can tell you that what changed everything for me, first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to Jared Pollan, Frono's Photo. The dude checked up on me almost every single day to see how I was doing. If he needed to fly into Chicago to, light a fire under my ass. I can't thank him enough for always checking up on me and making sure that, hey, what's going on? That was very helpful. But I think a lot of what I did to get out of this was a lot of self-work in the sense of like building self-confidence again. Okay. So I watch a lot of TikTok, and it's almost like TikTok, the algorithm knew I was going through something. It fed me a lot of motivational stuff. And I remember this one quote that it's a very simple quote, but it hit hard. It hit home for me. It was, "This is what hard feels like." It's very basic, but when you think about it, ask anybody, are you willing to do something hard to achieve your goals? Everyone's going to say, yeah, of course I'm willing to. I know this is not going to be easy, right? But until you actually face it, it's like you don't know what you're actually capable of dealing with to achieve it. I refuse to let this very hard year get in the way of achieving my goals. And there's other things as well. This one you may or may not be able to relate to, but obviously just going to the gym. And it's not even about like building your dream body. It's more about creating the discipline, the mentality of doing something that you don't want to do, but you're doing it and it makes you feel good. And building that self-confidence again for me just really changed things for me. And I'm back on the right track. And I was able to now use negative feelings to fuel me instead of just paralyze me and just sit there, play video games. I gave up the video games. Now I use those feelings to fuel me. And so I feel like I'm definitely on the right track again. And I'm very optimistic for 2024. I do want to build a side business outside of YouTube where it's more education focused, like a little academy where I post extra content. Because I feel like I do have a lot to offer at the end of the day. I have been doing this for a long time. I have some really dope supporters out there that love my work, and I feel like I do have a lot to offer. So I'm going to do that so I could not do as many sponsored videos, because that just, So Let's see where my notes ended at. Okay. For the real ones out there, you know that when I had like 60, 70,000 subscribers back on my old channel, I switched to a new channel because that old one got demonetized. That was one of the hardest times. I almost quit then too. I'm like, it was too, I didn't think I could build up that channel again. And looking back on that, I knew that that was really hard. I overcame that, but that was really hard. But this year, this was even harder, you know, to overcome, and to build that self-confidence again, and to just not care about what people think about my work. Not everything is going to be better than the last. Improving every you cannot, it's impossible to think that everything that you do is always going to be better than before. It's just impossible. I feel like I've gotten pretty good, but there's still a lot of room there's a lot of room to improve still. So yeah, I'm gonna rebrand, do some things a little different in 2024. So looking forward to that. Wow.